Now to the story, and it's happening in Gauteng, and it's a problem across parts of the province. But let's focus on Katlehong, where residents in Ekurhuleni say they really are fearing for their lives. Sinkholes continue to open up in this part of the East Rand. Several families in Mphanga and Skhosana sections have already been moved. Residents say over 100 sinkholes have been reported. That's just in this area. There are many more sinkholes across Gauteng. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu is tracking that story, and he joins us. I mean, it's the most terrifying thing to think about, isn't it, Manqoba? Just opening your front door one morning and looking down into a gaping hole, or even worse, a gaping hole opening up under your house. So you were in Katlehong today. Tell us what people are telling you and what it's like to walk around this area.
Well, so I can tell you that indeed many families, they are, barely sleeping at night because they are worried about these sinkholes that have developed. Of course, they've been developing over time. We understand that the first sinkholes that were seen in Katlehong were as back as 5 years. That's when even an investigation was commissioned by the city of Ekurhuleni to look at what was the cause and if at all there was a way to mitigate these particular sinkholes. But just speaking to residents, Sally, they're telling us that, they've been trying their level best to raise these issues. Some of them saying that they were even told that they were going to be relocated. Some of them have been relocated. But the problem is that, Sally, they're saying that the houses that they've been relocated to are simply too small to accommodate the whole family. Some people have also back rooms that they rent, which are no longer available, and that's the only source of income that they have for those homes. And so they're saying that they really had no other choices but to remain in these houses. But I can tell you that it's a dire situation. In fact, it's a ticking time bomb. When you look at some of these houses, the cracks on some of those houses' walls are just, something that you cannot fathom how they continue to live there, Sally, because these houses are literally on the brink of collapse. And earlier on, I visited about 3 families, Sally, that are saying that they are still living there. We visited them in April just to check the situation, but 6 months later, little has changed. They're saying that they still have to live in these houses. They've been promised that something was going to be done, and the municipality had said that they will come and fix these problems. But up until now, nothing has happened. But just take a listen to what one of the residents had to say about the extent of the damage.
Re le ra ya mo la masepala ba le ba re ba tla tla ho rona ba tla tla ba re thusa yaba ha ba tle o tlo re thusa qeto re leng ra e ka gore motho a ka re thusang ke ena councillor ya Ward 52 ke Ward 52 mo councillor rona ke Sibusiso o la tla he yena Sibusiso a tlo sheba, and then a go tla re tsamaisetsa yona report eo. Metsi a ka nako engwe le engwe a ka nna a hlaya hape, pula ke itse diatla a tlo tloa hape metsi ao. And then taba hoa wela ha o wela re tsebe o tla wela le matlo a rona ka po tla welang ha re tsebe.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolutely terrifying thought. So here's the thing, it's dolomitic land that is the problem. I don't understand why these people were allowed or why the city built houses in these dangerous areas. I always thought that you were not allowed to build on dolomitic land. So tell us about that and what the city's saying.
Well, Sally, the city says that, these areas were built back in the days, back in, decades ago, these townships when they were developed back then in the 60s or possibly 70s. So they've been there for quite a long time. But what we do understand, Sally, is that because of mining activity here in Gauteng, Gauteng is more prone to dolomitic land. So they're saying that in Ekurhuleni currently about 50% of Ekurhuleni is under dolomitic land. So that just tells you, Sally, what now extent the problem of dolomite is in Gauteng. And when you look at the province on its own, in its entirety, according to Sandwell, they said that 25% of this province as a whole is on dolomitic land. So that just tells you the extent of how bad the situation is. If you look at the issue of sinkholes, according to the geoscience, the Council for Geoscience, in 2011, there were 2,500 sinkholes. And just in the last 5 years...
Gauteng?
In Gauteng.
Jeepers.
And in the last 5 years alone, 200 sinkholes that have been reported. So it tells you, Sally, that this is a serious problem. Of course, the town planning departments will have to look at some of these issues, because we know it's not only Katlehong, but also when you look at other areas like the West Rand, Merafong, for example, there about 25,000 residents had to be relocated, or plans were put in place for them to be relocated because of the issue of dolomite. So it just tells you the extent of the problem here in Gauteng.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the city in Ekurhuleni saying? I know there are projects to try and sort out the sinkholes. I'm just not sure how easy it is to deal with. What is the city saying?
Well, so the city is saying that they are aware of these problems. They're saying that, according to them, they have tried to address this. They know about these families, and they say that they've provided means for them to be relocated to other places. In fact, when we did speak to these families, they did allude to that fact, saying that they were given these areas, but they're not happy. In fact, one family is saying that they cannot even make they cannot even rent out that place, because that's how they survive in that particular homestead. So there's a bit of resistance on the part of the families to move there, but at the same time, they're saying that, they don't want to lose their livelihoods, they don't want to lose their homes, because generations have, grown in those homes. So it's an issue of families really not wanting to leave their houses and hoping that the municipality is going to do something to fix it. The municipality is saying, we have relocated you to other places of safety, so please just go to those places of safety. They are saying, Sally, that there is over 50 million rand that they've set aside to look into this issue of sinkholes, but they're saying that they need those families and the community to also heed the call when they're asked to move, because it's also a danger to their lives. Take a listen to what Zweli Dlamini, who's a spokesperson of Ekurhuleni, had to say.
The houses that we've moved them to are very safe. Maybe it could be the issue of saying the people are not comfortable because it's not the very same space where they were, where they had gotten accustomed to. This is now a new house, but it's temporary until such time that we actually deal with the issue that they are faced with. We're busy with investigations right now to determine whether we can still rehabilitate the space where they are at, or whether there will be a need to permanently relocate them. Unfortunately, this is science we're talking about. It never happens overnight, but we're doing our best to actually ensure that we speed up the process. I must also emphasize that we would like to appeal to members of the public that when we move them to a place of safety, it's for their own safety and good that we move them there. We are quite aware that their lives are in danger. We are quite aware that they are comfortable in the houses where they belong, but when their lives are at risk, as a municipality, we must actually intervene, and would like community leaders and other members of the public, when they see potholes, they must just come forward and report them to us so that we can be able to intervene as soon as possible. As I'm speaking to you right now, Manqoba, we are faced with a situation where we've got over 100 sinkholes that have been reported. We are dealing with the system, with the situation as we move along, and we are doing our best to ensure that people's lives and properties are actually looked after.
Yeah, that's in Ekurhuleni alone, as you point out. That is terrifying. Yeah, keep an eye on that story, because it's very, very scary to even think about. Thank you very much for that update. That's our reporter, Manqoba Mchunu.